What's going on, guys? We have Tower Talk number 8, and we got the usual crew here.
Hello, how are you today?
Hi.
We have a great show for you, I think.
Yeah, we got a great show, you see.
Tefty, what are we doing today?
Well, since there's a whole lot of stuff going on in Destiny right now, like just massive amounts on the landscape, I figured we'd take a trip down memory lane and talk about our beginnings. Good beginnings, right?
Yeah, remember when I bought this game and the beta, and I was like, holy shit, my life is so complete. I'm going to play World of Warcraft except Halo. And then I realized, wow, that was not what I expected at all. However, it is a much better game than I remember it being when it was vanilla, especially when it comes to PvE. I think they upped the PvE like a ridiculous amount because it is
they stepped up their PvE game considerably.
Especially with the raids. I don't think anyone expected the raids to be as good as they actually turned out to be, because the raids are awesome. And then they eventually picked up the slack with the strikes and the loot. And well, loot can be debated, but with just about everything else in the game, I think they improved a lot. I like this game a lot more, especially when Taken King came out, because Taken King was like the best the game has ever been. Unfortunately, now we don't have much to do, but
This is true. Let's talk about raids. First off, the very first one, Vault of Glass, when it made its maiden voyage, like a week or two after launch, nobody really knew what to expect, right?
Not at all. I remember being told, you had to be this certain level to do it. And what I did, this is back when I was working, myself and 2 friends, we stayed up until like 4 o'clock in the morning, just leveling up. I remember back then, leveling up was just pure RNG. So you're constantly having to do patrol missions so you can get marks and having,
well, no marks. No marks were there.
What's it called? Like just rep, right? Just level up the rep and stuff like that. Yeah. I remember just doing constant patrols like over and over again for hours and hours until like 4 o'clock in the morning, and then I find out you don't have to be. I think it was like someone said like you have to be like level 27 to do the raid, but in actuality you can do it at level 26. So I stayed up longer than I needed to, and I was really upset. And it took us like 2 days to beat it. Like even like the world's first didn't beat it until like the next day or something like that.
It took them 15 hours. Yeah.
I think we're top 10. We're like number 8, and we beat ours like around the same time. Like it was crazy. It took a long time to do it, and it was like a really great experience. Like it was difficult as hell, trying to figure out how everything works. It was back when no one knew what guns were the best guns to use against what, and it was great. Like it was really, really cool.
Loot cave.
That was I remember farming the loot cave for hours.
Oh my god, the loot cave.
I was farming the loot cave for hours for legendaries. It was crazy.
I was such like a view whore, to be honest. People would watch so much loot cave. And that was back then. Me and Ab still knew each other, and I would stream literally the loot cave, and I would have like 500 viewers. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, why am I getting so many viewers for this stupid shit? Like, whatever. Eventually, I stopped streaming Destiny back then because it was like, soulless. Even like 3-4 weeks in, people were like, "Holy shit, loot!" And I remember anytime there was like a new loot cave thing, the top streamers for Destiny would be the people abusing possible new loot cave things. So I think there was one in like, obviously Skywatch is the most notorious one. Yeah, and the Rocky Yard, there was a really big one, and like I remember for like a week, people were just like streaming that stupid like version of the loot cave, and people were like, "Holy shit! Oh my god, I gotta watch this." People were crazy for Destiny in a very different way back then, and then as we learned more about Destiny, we realized stuff like that did not make a difference really. So,
well, okay, so back then you'd get a legendary, and you'd have a small chance of it turning into a legendary. You get a legendary engram, you're like, that. It was depressing because you'd get a legendary engram and you'd be like, well, there's your blue engram. Congratulations. And didn't rares also turn into greens?
Yeah, rares could turn into greens. What basically they changed was that legendaries back then had a higher chance of turning into exotics, but they also had a lower chance of turning into legendaries. So for every rarity tier, it would be like that. So rares had a higher chance now than they did before, or than they do now, of turning into legendaries, but you have a lower chance of getting a rare. So it was awkward. It's obviously much better now because it's like it's so dumb to get a purple engram and be like, holy shit, I'm gonna get a it's a rare.
Yeah, it's a rare. Wah, wah, wah.
If you guys hate the loot system now, holy shit, it was bad back then.
You know what's interesting? The whole troll arc meme, like even a Twitter account being formed over the crypt arc being a troll. And I think new players won't actually get that experience. I think new players would be like, why was the crypt arc a troll before? I don't get it. He always gives me legendaries when I decrypt an engram.
Yeah, and now, yeah, he's not bad anymore. He's just he's the guy you go to get your stuff. People still in the Des community treat him as that character.
We never forget.
Never forget. Never forget.
People don't forget what you did to people. So it's so weird to think that all these new players won't experience that same like stuff around like Destiny, Vanilla, and Dark Below, because it was like Destiny is a much different game than it was back then.
Significantly different.
Especially when it comes to that loot system.
So, planetary materials. Thinking about this, at the end of the upgrade nodes, you had 3 upgrade nodes, either attack or defense nodes, and each one required 16 planetary materials. And it was so long to farm those.
I remember watching Ab streams all the time, and he would like, honestly, half his streams sometimes would just be him farming planetary materials on Cosmodrome. To get your levels up, you need Ascendant Shards.
Ridiculous.
And planetary materials. Oh my god, that was awful.
Yeah, wasn't it awful? Ascendant Shards for your armor, Ascendant Energy for your weapons, and there was this whole economy of like having to run the raid in order to get those materials, which obviously King's Fall took out. They moved away from that direction, which is probably for the better. But in hindsight, the longevity of having to do those raids was a little bit more. I don't know. It felt a little bit more real. It was like, oh, I need these materials out of the raids so I can have a stock to upgrade my other armor pieces and all that.
It was a lot more grindy, but yeah, it did feel very rewarding to get to level 30. Yeah, it was definitely a double-edged sword, I'd say. Destiny.
That's true.
Definitely.
Whereas now, and even in House of Wolves, it really didn't feel that rewarding to get to max level.
I hit 34 day one on House of Wolves.
Vanilla Destiny, Crota's End, very like if you get to 32, like holy shit, you are max level. Like you can do it now. You're the master of time and space, and
you can kill Crota with a sword.
Oh, 320? What's that? I don't really care too much about 320.
Pretty much 320 has like no consequence right now. It's like, well, congrats, you reached the end.
Yeah, because the old raids, for example, you're at max level and now people want you on their team, like, oh, you do a lot of damage to the boss, you do a lot of, you're this. But now you could be at 320 and at the end of the day you're not changing anything but a little bit of DPS on a boss or something like that, which isn't even necessary, you know what I mean? Like it's not a huge difference unless you're a speed runner or just your own personal reasons. But it's not as important as it used to be, where people would like go, oh my god, look at this 34, 32 we have in our team. We're about to beat this really quick, really quick, really fast.
Pretty much that's what it is.
And now it's just like, oh, that 320, cool, nice RNG. Like, you know what I mean? Like
that's how I feel too. I feel like once you hit 320, there's no end game of saying you've reached this. Now go put this skill into this box that was previously locked because you weren't 320 yet. And that's what's missing. There's no desire to hit 320 for me.
I think the grind in vanilla gave you a lot more essentials from grinding. So to get what you need to get, you obviously had to grind a very long time, and you had to grind a very long time to do essential things of the game. Whereas now, you still have to grind to find new armor to level yourself up, which I love the new infusion system. It's much better than what they had before. But there's a much bigger buffer on things you can do. Like the Nightfall at 280, I ended up doing the Nightfall at like light level 240. It took a long time, but it wasn't like my light level really influenced me doing endgame activity as much as it used to.
I think at 23 you could get into the raid, but at 22 you couldn't.
Something like that.
Because it was like level 26 for normal.
Yeah. Like I did the Nightfall at like light level 240 and Taken King, and it was like, oh, you get a little more essential stuff given to you in year 2.
Yeah, like a conspiracy theory D with Rangefinder.
Like PvP god right there.
Or a 1,000-yard stare with short gaze.
Oh my god. I will say, one thing I did like about year 1 that I don't like as much about year 2 is how stupidly hard it is to get a roll on your favorite gun. We didn't have like as deep as a weapon system, so it didn't feel like we had to try as hard to get our favorite guns, and we kind of already gravitated toward what we liked. And then obviously we had the raid weapons, which were kind of overpowered, but you had Fatebringer, you had Vision of Confluence, and you knew what you were getting in your weapons for your endgame weapons for the most part. Now it's like if you get what you get, then great. You get a great PvP roll, you don't. God knows when you're gonna get a great Hawksaw roll.
Yeah, it's also interesting how back in year 1, the landscape for what was good was also just a mystery. And I think the first weapon to take over was the Suros regime.
I remember seeing that gun and be like, I want that gun. And when you get that gun, you're like, oh my god, I got the gun. And then now these days you have the 3 of coins. You're like, oh, okay.
The hunt for exotics, because we had no idea how they worked.
Yeah, it was definitely, I would say that's another double-edged sword. It was one of those things where, you get mad because it took so long to get a gun, but then you also felt really good when you got it. Dude, I finally got it.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt really, really, really good compared to now where it's like I do 3 strikes, 3 of coins. And of course, it's different for everybody. It's RNG, of course. But from my personal experience, I do a few strikes, get the gun I want, and I'm like, okay, cool. And it's just not the same.
That 3, and then that gun was your baby.
Yeah, and it's like it felt really, really nice. Like the Suros, everyone wanted the Suros back then, and then everyone found out the good fusion rifle exotics. Everyone wanted those, and like I like that a lot. I miss that. Those are really fun times.
Yeah, I miss that too. I miss that feeling because it is it's a different economy right now. And I don't know if it's because it's the Taken King, which is like a larger expansion of vanilla.
It's 3 of coins.
Well, it might be. Yeah, well, it might be, but it also is that we might be plagued with the fact that year 1 weapons are still technically dominating.
Yeah.
I think the year 2 exotics definitely weren't on the same level as usefulness as year 1s were. Because, I mean, we have... I mean, the most popular year 2 weapons are like stuff like Jade Rabbit. First Curse is getting pretty popular now, but...
Yeah, I mean, Last Word, Might of Multi-Tool, even Thorn in regular Crucible, which is nuts. Invective.
I think it's its abilities too. I've seen like Bungie splooges all their exciting ideas on the exotics, and then they're trying to get their backup ideas into the year 2. You know what I mean? Like that's what it seems like at least. Like, hey, we had this idea we weren't able to put during year 1. Let's put it in year 2, and it just wasn't as intuitive, or it wasn't as innovative, or maybe it's just us. Like who knows? I don't know.
There's not as many compelling exotics in year 2, and that's another reason why it feels like exotics are not worth as much, because in year 1 we got most of the ones that are useful. I think the most useful ones we got in year 2 are like for PvP and
Chaperone.
PvE. We got like the Talak for warlocks, and then I mean obviously we got great stuff like for like the impossible machines. I feel like for warlocks, as a warlock, the impossible machines are probably the only great year 2 exotic armor we have that we've gotten, and I think for hunters, they don't really have like
not really
a great year 2 exotic. It's kind of awkward.
It's another hand cannon.
It's a gun. And to be fair though, Titans did get the
Fabian strategy. Yeah. Well, it was awful at first.
Well, hunters did get the Gavatron forfeit, which is a great exotic.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that is a really good exotic to wear. Yeah, if you're running that specific class.
And then Titans got the Twilight Garrison, which
I still want.
But
Twilight Garrison's amazing.
But we're coming down to such a small amount of exotics that we really only have like literally we kind of done like maybe 1 weapon and one armor piece. It's just there's not as much compelling exotics.
Yeah, exactly. That was part of vanilla. You got an exotic and you were like, oh my god.
I was like one of the first dudes on Twitch with the last word, and it caught my whole chat was like, what gun is that? What gun is that? I'm sitting there flipping like I'm playing Counter-Strike over and over again, like, look how cool this is. This is so cool. Everyone's like, what is that? What is that? You don't get that these days. Like you get every once in a while, like, what is that? And it ends up being a multi-tool. It's new players asking what the heck the multi-tool is. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, here you go. Actually, if you use rare weapons, you'll get a ream of people going, whoa, what weapon is that? What's this new weapon? I was doing it when I was leveling up on an Xbox. It's pretty great.
I guess I was one of the first people to get one of the quest exotics. So I finished it as quickly as I spent like my fucking life trying to get that weapon because I knew it was coming out of it. And then when I got the bad juju, people were like, holy shit, that gun looks so dope. The gun was super bad back then, but it looked so cool. And people were like, holy shit. I'm hoping for a middle ground eventually, because I don't necessarily like how grindy it was to get exotics in year 1 and how random it was. At the same time, I don't like how easy it is to get exotics in year 2.
Yeah.
I still want like quest exotics. Like I still feel like,
yeah, me too.
Obviously, there's going to be rare exotics that they're just totally random. That's fine. But I want to do quests because I do miss the quests that worked from year 1 where you actually got quests.
Yeah, exotic bounties, yeah.
At the same time, I do love the fact that we now have like these secret exotics we have to like figure out how to get in year 2.
I love all that.
So I would love a little more balance between that, because the grind in year 1 at times was like super crazy, but it was also rewarding.
There's like a different type of grind, which is weird. It's weird to feel, and it's weird to be like, oh wait, okay, this grind that we're experiencing makes the game essentially not have the long tail that it had in year 1. And there was a lot of longevity because people wanted to see the expansions come out and then also try to get to that high light level like you guys were talking about. In this time around, the grind is more like, well, we try to get that 1,000-yard stare or that Hawksaw roll.
Exotics aren't even the rarest anymore. It's good legendary rolls are the rarest.
Yeah, exactly. That's precisely correct. Like people are trying to get that party crasher with the specific, rangefinder rifle barrel drop on it. How would you guys feel about year 3? And if they wiped the slate completely clean and year 1 stuff was not coming forward, or year 1 and year 2 was not coming forward, and year 3 was completely fresh, would you feel bad about that? Would you feel good about that? Like, what's your thoughts on like a complete wipe of Destiny 2?
Honestly, if they make when Destiny 2 comes out, assuming it's a new disc, it's like a completely new game,
and it's only current gen.
What I'd rather have them do is have like what they did with year 2, like, oh, you played it back then. Well, cool. You're gonna start with your character. You're gonna balance out the leveling and how it's gonna work. I guess like if you're level 320. They'll balance it out or give like a middle ground. Like, okay, well, you have a boost. You start here now. If you already played it here, have some sort of middle ground to it. Make it so that we don't feel like we wasted our time. If we get to use our characters
you're
again,
160 now or something like that.
They think they confirmed or something like that. We get to use our characters again. I'm always a fan of something new. Like I'm always open to new things, and this makes sense because this felt more like a giant expansion to the first game versus a completely different game. So when it comes to the second game, I'm expecting them to change up the gameplay. I'm just expecting them to for it to evolve in some way where maybe some of the guns back then, or majority of guns just don't work anymore with how this new game will play, or whatever they plan on doing. I'm totally down for it.
I think it would just be better in general if we got a clean slate. The year 2 is still dominated by year 1 exotics, and it's because we brought year 1 exotics into year 2. Not saying it's a bad thing that year 1 exotics are in year 2, but obviously I just want new. I don't want to be using like a last word for Destiny 2, 3, 4, whatever.
I see it as a good retry, as in like, hey, we get another shot. Like let's like get a retry, because as a marketing thing, going to that really quick. Imagine how many people still don't play the game because of their first impression when the game first came out, the vanilla game.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So when you put a number 2, or when people find out this is a sequel to something, they usually give it another shot. So exactly. So this is now their Bungie's shot to bring those people in and keep them. And this is their shot to make it so things last long. Not last long because you kept missions, weeks later and now they come out, but they last long because the gameplay just allows that. There's something in that game that makes us want to keep playing after we hit the cap. Give us things to do afterwards, and at the same time, it's like we may get it and maybe in the same exact position. Like I got what I want, now I'm bored again. So I think it's time for Bungie to really just dig deep and really find the gold mine and find what can really keep people playing longer than 3 months.
I think I have an answer for that for me, and that is a Forge world that is both PvP and PvE. If people were able to forge their own strikes or PvE encounters, and I know that sounds like a humongous task, and I'm not saying it's going to even be remotely possible, but if this was something in the game that they could actually make, or even take like the canvas of a strike that it is right now and replace all the enemies and make new encounters like that, I think that would give a huge longevity boost, along with being able to do forge maps in PvP, along with custom games. Those are the ingredients right there that essentially made Reach such a popular game with so much long lasting.
You know, like go to a strike playlist and it says like a community strike playlist. So now, like, the way it
like
works
Bungie
is
approved?
people vote
That'd
for
be cool.
it. Yeah, like Bungie
community
approved,
strike playlist. Wouldn't that be
upload it,
ridiculous?
People vote, whatever they have. I'm sure they'll create a system for it that works. And then it's in a playlist, and maybe every reset, it's constantly changing or adding new stuff to it. So you're constantly playing user created ones. You can vote after you play it. You can rate them to make it so it pops up more for other people. You can rate them down. You can comment on them. People can edit them based off of your comments. That'd be cool. Like, I'm down for that.
Essentially, Reach did that with the title updates. They would include community maps that people thought were popular or enjoyed, and then they'd be in the rotation for a while. And it was great. It added so much fresh air to the Reach.
Yeah, it may be difficult
system
to pull off, but I think like if it's something like it sounds like it can work. It works for these kind of I personally think it would be interesting to do, and that they should look into some point.
I think the thing that will probably keep me coming back the most is I think it's obvious with Destiny 1 they weren't able to deliver exactly on what they wanted to deliver. I want like the way they like the stuff they promised us that they teased us back when the beta was coming out, where they're like, yo, like these huge open world you can explore and like a crazy ass story and just pools and pools of guns you could get. You could look through the entire map, you won't find anything. How they teased us in the beta isn't exactly what we got. And even how they teased us in the marketing of the original game, they marketed it pretty hard as like an online MMO Borderlands, and it turned out to be nothing exactly like that.
I was excited for that. I was like, Borderlands meets Halo, let's go! Like,
I'm most just interested in seeing how they do it in Destiny 2, because if we get the original things that they promised us in the beta, with all the improvements that we've gotten in Taken King, because Taken King is obviously 10 times better than vanilla Destiny. If we could really start seeing exactly what Bungie wants to get across, because I just feel like they didn't in Destiny 1, then I'm sure people will stay. Because if all the people that played vanilla Destiny had the chance to play Taken King, they'd probably be like, wow, this game is much, much better than I originally thought it was.
They say I didn't like vanilla, and they came back to Taken King, loved it.
It is a much, much better game now. So I think when Destiny 2 comes out, it's going to be a great chance for people to see what Bungie's been fixing. And at the same time, hopefully Bungie finally gets that chance to really put the meat and potatoes in the game that I don't think they got the chance to in Destiny 1.
Yeah, that sounds fair.
Sounds good. I like it. Also, can we get comp and casual PvP separated? Thanks. Love you, Bungie.
Let's get rid of this skill-based matchmaking. That's like 100% skill-based matchmaking.
Yeah.
So I play people in like across
just copy games. Like, it's okay. It's okay to copy other games. Like, I'm not gonna be mad at you because you put number 23 next to my name.
Bungie's not copying them because Bungie made it up in the first
place.
place.
Like, if you are on the West Coast of the United States, you have to play people in Johannesburg. It's a requirement.
Bungie, please, I love you. I love you, Bungie.
Well, guys, I think that's it for the podcast. What you think? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm down.
Oh my God, Tefty.
Reminisce, memory lane mixed in with the little future.
We're trying to keep it bite-sized.
There you go.
Peeps. We don't want to go too far into
just
it.
Little
you don't want to go too deep in the rabbit hole?
No, not too deep. Please, God. Tefty goes deep, just like his voice. Yeah, damn.
All right, guys, that is it for the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Once again, my name is Tefty Teft. You can talk to me at Teft on Twitter, twitter.com/Teft. And you can catch the streams I do for Planet Destiny, twitch.tv/Planet_Destiny, and my own personal channel, twitch.tv/TeftyTeft.
And my name is Versus the Stream. You can talk to me at Versus the Stream on Twitter, which is VERSUS the Stream. You can come and check me out on the Planet Destiny Twitch channel on weekends, which is twitch.tv/Planet_Destiny. And you can check me out on my own personal Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Versus the Stream.
And my name is Blue Westlow. You can contact me if you want to talk to me on Twitter at Blue Westlow. Check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/Blue Westlow. And then probably never on youtube.com/Blue Westlow.
I still downvote all your videos.
Bye.
That's it. Woo!